Hello and
subscribe.
welcome to my channel. I bug of MLBB. Sigrika, our next newest Aero DPS character, has just dropped in Wuthering Waves. In today's ultimate guide video, you'll learn everything you need to know about Sigrika. While we already have many Aero DPS characters, Sigrika is the first Aero DPS character with 4 pigtails. Sigrika is a new top-tier Aero DPS character who specializes on Echo-type damage, giving her noticeably different team options compared to her Aero DPS cohorts. Quick note, this video was filmed on the media server and things may be subject to change upon the official release. Please check the comments below to see if anything changed. As usual, we'll go through her kit, rotations, echoes and stats, weapons, sequences, teams, showcases, and finally, my opinion on Sigrika. Now, attempting to read Sigrika's kit, I'll give you some post-traumatic Sigrika disorder. Fortunately for you, and less fortunately for me, I've gone through this Pan's Labyrinth of a kit, so you don't have to. Despite how complicated her kit is on paper, Sigrika's playstyle is to generate runes, and then use enhanced heavies to convert those runes into plushies. And once you get 4 plushies, you can use her super enhanced skill to squish her enemies to death. Interestingly, I'd describe her playstyle to be most similar to Filova, at least in terms of the button inputs, and Filova also happens to focus on Echo-type damage, interestingly enough. This is because Sigrika can generate 2 different types of runes, this reddish sun-looking rune and this bluish moon-looking rune. After Sigrika performs Basic Attack 4, she has the option of either performing Basic Attack 5 or an enhanced skill. Basic Attack 5 generates a sun rune, and enhanced skill generates a moon rune. Once you have 2 runes, you can now perform an enhanced heavy attack, which consumes 2 of the runes and turns them into plushie icons, foreshadowing the pillowy doom that your opponents will soon face. Depending on which rune Sigrika consumes, she'll perform a different enhanced heavy attack. Consuming 1 sun rune and 1 moon rune, Sigrika's enhanced heavy will do more damage. Consuming 2 sun runes stagnates the enemy, and consuming 2 moon runes groups the enemies. Now, it is important to note that you cannot generate the 3rd rune unless you first use an enhanced heavy to convert the first 2 runes into plushies. Alright, now once you've used 2 of her enhanced heavies to generate 4 plushies, you now have access to her super enhanced Hold special attack. Hold the special attack button to perform this diabolical attack where she squishes her enemies with a giant Temu Labubu, and it does way more damage than you might expect from something so soft and squishy. Next we have Sigrika's Liberation. After using Sigrika's Liberation, the next rune you generate will come with an additional one of the other type of rune for free. For example, if we use Sigrika's Liberation and then use Sigrika's Basic 5 to generate a Sun rune, then thanks to having used her Liberation, she'll also generate a Moon rune. Similarly, after an intro skill, Sigrika will generate a duplicate of the next rune she creates. As we can see, both her intro skill and her Liberation basically each generate a free rune for her. Finally, her outro skill just has her do a bit of damage as well, as allows an ally to briefly stagnate an enemy, and that's pretty much her entire kit. Her gameplay loop is to enter onto the field, generate 2 runes, convert runes into plushies via her enhanced heavy, then you use her Liberation, generate 2 runes again, enhanced heavy again, and then use her Hold special plushie to end the rotation. Okay, so now that you have a decent understanding of her kit, there are some additional bells and whistles that are important enough to mention. Her regular resonance skill allows her to go directly into Basic 3, which will do a smidge more damage. Next, she benefits significantly from more types of echoes being used by the team. Chuyen, to help stack her second major passive's buffs. And also, part of this passive, she wants to be built with 150% energy regen to get more bonus echo damage, although any extra energy regen over 150%, while not useless, has significant diminishing returns. Finally, teammates using their echoes will also improve Sigrika's damage, so make sure to use your teammates' echoes. And another couple of tips. Sigrika's basic 3 has her float in the air for a little bit, allowing for some swap cancel shenanigans, and after her basic 4, she actually has a few seconds to choose to either use her basic 5 or special skill. This means that if you need to dodge or pick your nose or toon break after her basic 4, this is a decent time to do so. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully this was reasonably clear, but if not, the rotation section should help further clarify how you can use her. For her talent priority, prioritize her forte and liberation, then basics, and lastly her skill and intro. So we've done over her general gameplay loop a couple of times. Now let's actually take a look at it in practice with her basic rotation. Just intro her onto the field and use her echo, then perform basics until you have 2 runes, where you'll consume them with her enhanced heavy attack. Use a liberation to get 2 runes again with another basic 5, and then enhanced heavy again, where now you'll have 4 plushies to labubu your enemies to death with her hold skill. As for a full team rotation, here's an example with Choyen and Shorekeeper, which is likely going to be a popular team for her. Now, it is definitely worth noting here that this rotation, if done optimally, is actually shorter than 25 seconds, which leads to significant issues, especially for Choyen, since he'll be missing a ton of his concerto. So if you find yourself playing too well with tightly timed rotations, which I'm sure my audience always does, feel free to squeeze out some extra attacks from someone here and there. And there's even a more hyper-optimized rotation where you can actually split Sigrika's rotation into 2 parts for the first rotation by using her liberation first. But yeah, it's a bit complicated. I'm sure you sweaties will figure it out. But most of the time, with dodging and input inefficiencies and just skill issues, you'll probably be fine for the 25-second cooldowns. We've made it to the echoes, and stats. Now before we continue, just look at her damage distribution. It's pretty much all echo type damage, so yeah, we'll need to keep this in mind. Anyway, you know the drill by now. With a new character comes a new echo set to farm. This one being the Sound of True Name, which is tailor-made for Sigrika, with a 2-piece set bonus providing 10% arrow damage, and the 5-piece set providing her with 20% crit rate for echo damage and 15% arrow damage for good measure. You want to run the standard 4-3-3-1-1 setup with this dapper-looking astronaut as your equipped echo. Equipping the Nameless Explorer provides 12% arrow damage and 20% echo skill damage as a bonus to help launch her damage to the stratosphere. And as usual, either crit rate or crit damage for the main stat. Just also keep in mind the 20% crit rate from this echo set and other crit rate sources like 12.5% from Shorekeeper, etc., etc. The 3-cost main stats is actually where things actually get more interesting. Energy regen plus attack percent is actually really strong on her, only needing a few energy regen substat rolls to reach the recommended 150%. However, if you're able to get 5 high energy regen rolls on double attack percent pieces, then that's also very competitive. As for arrow damage, it is noticeably worse. For the 1-cost echoes, run attack percent, and for the substats, crit rate, crit damage, energy regen, and attack percent, and flat attack isn't useless either. Alright, we're punching our way over to Sigrika's weapon/gauntlet options, and you guessed it, her signature punchies are her best option, and they're about 20% better than her next best options, like the 5-star Statics, Blazing Justice, Abyss Surges, and Pulsation Bracer. The Abyss Surges is particularly noteworthy though, because it does have energy regen, which makes it easier for her to hit the recommended 150% energy regen. So yeah, it's the usual shebang when it comes to her weapon options, and besides these, it's hard for me to really recommend any of the other weapon options. And up next, for those of you who can relate to Sigrika, who made a fortune from selling plushies, we have Sigrika's sequences and investment priority, starting with her sequence 1, which provides a bit of damage and also some interrupt resistance during her basic 5 and special skill, in one more stagnate for good measure after her outro. Sequence 2 honestly might take some additional testing as there is potentially room to optimize the first rotation a bit, but it improves the damage her plush squish attack does. It also provides her a free opposite rune basically that normally requires a vibration to activate, so yeah, there's a bit more room to potentially optimize for her sequence 2, but generally speaking this is more so in my opinion more of a quality of life sequence for the overworld. Sequence 3 basically just makes her do more damage. Sequence 4 provides the full team with 20% attack. Sequence 5 improves her liberation's damage by a bit. And Sequence 6, as usual, provides a ton of damage. I do have to say, though, that I'm a bit surprised by her early sequences not being as impactful as they usually are. Although, again, maybe there's more potential with Sequence 2. Overall, though, I recommend going for her signature weapon before her sequences. Sigrika, basically being essentially a completely echo damage focused character, makes her team building a bit more straightforward than I expected. Needless to say, Choyen's massive 50% echo damage amplify outro makes him the ideal teammate for Sigrika. Interestingly, besides him, most of the other supports are much more generic, so someone like Shorekeeper ends up being one of her best teammates as is Sigrika's release. Alternatively, the usual wheelchair core of Linnae plus Mornay can pretty much wheelchair anyone, so yeah, they provide enough generic buffs to be reasonable options for Sigrika. We'd also throw in Falova as well, who pairs well with Choyen. Although you don't have sustain, but you can of course always just get good and dodge, bro. Chakona is also a solid option, providing some aero damage buffs and looking fabulous while doing so. Finally, you can shoehorn Cantarella in, but at this point the options are getting a bit rough. Alrighty everyone, we've got a quick showcase here, starting off with the Choyen plus Shorekeeper team, which is definitely, I would say, one of her more powerful teams. Although it does feel kind of weird playing these characters now, because after spending so much time with characters that just literally like stay in the air for so much of their like field time or I guess air time, these grounded characters feel a lot more vulnerable and they get hit a lot more easily in my opinion. And yeah, that was definitely one thing I noticed about Sigrika, is that one issue that I often had was not being able to make it all the way to a basic attack 4, at which point, you know, if you get interrupted prior to basic attack 4, sometimes it can be a little rough because then you have to do basics, you know, either 1 through 4 or 2 through 4, depending on, you know, various factors and stuff like that. So yeah, that's definitely something that very noticeable with Sigrika in comparison to some other characters, but yeah, she does a lot of damage. And I will say Choyen also has, like, for me personally, I don't know, he gets interrupted all the time, and also the fact that if you're faster than 25 seconds he gets punished severely definitely makes the team feel a bit awkward. But you know, it definitely has, it definitely does a lot of damage to kind of make up for all that stuff in my opinion. But yeah, pretty fun character overall. And it is also really funny, in my opinion, that her plushy squish attack is like in the same ballpark as Imith's like massive robot smash attack. And I mean, visually speaking, you've got like a little plushie versus, you know, a giant robot that like covers the entire screen, slamming and attacking to the enemy. And hey, I guess they're pretty comparable in terms of power level and power scaling in this game. Anyway, it's alright. Up next we have Linnae plus Mornay, and yep, these two at this point, I mean, you can just throw pretty much any DPS characters with them. Well, I wouldn't say that, but you know, you can throw in a ton of DPS characters with them because these provide so many generic buffs. That's, yeah, I mean, they are still one of Sigrika's, you know, better / decent options. Very usable, far from optimal, definitely, because, yeah, they don't really, like, Sigrika's not a toon break character, so it will definitely, you know, not really benefit as much as some other characters likely will. So, yeah, overall, though, you know, team feels fine, and Linnae plus Mornay, you know, I've had a decent amount of experience with them lately, so picking them up to showcase them was quite straightforward, all things considered. But yeah, as you can see, Sigrika able to do a lot of damage. Just, you know, another new era DPS character that does a lot of damage, and hey, if that's something that you want, well, here she is. So there you go, another new, incredibly powerful character in Wuthering Waves. Sigrika, for those of you missing an era DPS character and or have Cho Yen, is a fantastic pickup to continue the onslaught of echo-focused damage. Let me know what you think about Sigrika down in the comments below. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Win to Lose, signing out.